So this video today, it's going to be a little bit controversial, but it is not an indictment on the LGBTQ community, nor is it an indictment, so much so, on the religious community. But I will say this. It is based on the symbolism used by the LGBTQ community, the chakra system, the law of correspondence, the fact that some churches are flying their flags, as well as a conversation that 3 lesbian women were having in the back of my car while I was driving Lyft, that shed a lot of light on where man is on this spectrum and on this scale. And I wanted to give you guys a better understanding of where each one of these groups should be thinking in order to really hit the spiritual plane, the spiritual body. So what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and I want to thank you for joining me. If this is your first time visiting this channel, we talk about the spiritual, we talk about health, we talk about wealth, and we talk about relationships. We talk about the 360 degrees of life and of the person. So if you're finding me for the first time and you like what we talk about, then support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button, hitting that bell icon so you get notified when new videos drop. I thank everybody who watches on Facebook and Instagram and all these other places. Come on over to YouTube and please hit those same buttons. Also, everyone who shops with me with Uncle Renz Popcorn, that's urpopcorn.com. I greatly appreciate your support of me and this channel and the support of my business. For everyone who are coaching clients with me with CoachRenz.com, I appreciate you guys as well for being supportive as you have been of this channel and of my business and the support and the things that I provide for you guys, and I see them working wonders in your life. So with that being said, I give gratitude to all of you. The dilemma. First, we're going to talk about this from the perspective of the church. Then we're going to talk about this from understanding the law of correspondence and the chakra system, because before we can talk about the LGBTQ conversation that I heard in the car in depth, I have to move you into that understanding so that we all can elevate our consciousness and ourselves. Now, here's the thing. This conversation, and I'll tell you the first, and it will tell you the end, and we'll come back to it, or the middle end, but then we'll come back to it, and we have to go back to the beginning. There was a comment, as some of you know, on the side I drive Lyft, and when I'm driving rideshare, you hear conversations often. And one of the conversations I most recently had was 3 lesbian women talking about how they're going to work on, they're strategizing how they're going to take one woman away from her husband, take another one of their friends away from their boyfriend, how they want to take some other friends of theirs, they call them friends, away from how they think, how they are, and convert them over to the LGBTQ community. They kept calling convert them over to being queer. They were discussing their strategies. They were discussing how they want to make out with all their friends and how they want to make love to all these different women and move them into the queer lifestyle, as they kept saying. They kept discussing how their whole plan of getting them into the lifestyle centered around them being able to make out with them. Now, I'm not saying that's every person in the LGBTQ community, but it spoke volume to a mindset that is part of the community. And before I go there, I want to talk about their symbol. And if you don't think symbols are important, I'll break down a little bit about why symbols are important when I get to the end of the part about the church. That's how I'll end that part. Because here in Atlanta, I've driven past a few churches in the downtown, midtown area, which I know if you know this area, and if you know this city, that is a very dense population of the LGBTQ community. So if you know it, then even though there are other churches in the area, there are 2 in particular that constantly, consistently are flying or representing the church with the LGBTQ community's flag, which is the rainbow. And we're going to break that rainbow down, but it's the rainbow. They're breaking. One has it as a big giant flag on there. The another one has a smaller flag on the marquee. So they have their flags. They're flying their flag. let's break it down what that flag really means, the colors of that flag. As we know, the colors of the rainbow start, when you look at a natural rainbow, it's red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, violet. Flows down. From the heavens, it starts as red and comes down to the violet color. It's the color spectrum. The flag is the same. The rainbow, to the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, is supposed to represent an additional covenant made between the Creator and man. You see, at the end of the flood, when Noah came out of the ark, God said, I will not destroy man again through water. And I'm going to give you this symbol of this new covenant of abundance, which was the rainbow. And that's what it's supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent a covenant. You see, God had a covenant with Adam, according to the Hebrew Bible. Had a covenant with Adam, then had a covenant with Abraham, and now he has he has a covenant through Jesus. And in this one, he has a covenant with Noah. As a covenant with Noah. I will not destroy the earth again in this fashion. I will now cause it to rain, because prior to that, the Abrahamic belief is that the earth was just watered by a mist every day. There was no such thing as rain. So this was the new covenant. Rain and the rainbow is a symbol of that covenant. Now this is what it means to Christians. This is what it's supposed to mean to the church. These are two Christian churches. It's supposed to mean that. It's supposed to mean that covenant between them and God. Not a covenant between them and the LGBTQ community. You see, when you fly that flag, you're saying to them that the church is a welcoming place for you and is an accepting place for you. You see, now, don't get me wrong, because I know some of the comments right now in people's mind is, well, the church is supposed to be welcoming, and you're right. According to the doctrine, the church, the synagogue, the temple, the mosque is all supposed to be welcoming of people, loving of people. It's likened unto a hospital. Many ministers say it's like a hospital. And it's welcoming to people of all walks. Come as you are, is what it said. But just because you come as you are doesn't mean you should be acceptable in what you do. If what you do is against the church doctrine, then it should not be acceptable. But yet, that is what you do. You're saying when you fly their flag that what you do is acceptable. Now, I do not deny that in their tradition, God should love the sinner and the sinless, but according to your doctrine, there is no sinless, so God should love everyone. But even in your doctrine, you teach that God may love everyone, but God does not love what you do. This is why I raise my children in the idea that I will love you, but criticize the activity, and then reaffirm you. You cannot reaffirm when you say, I am going to accept what you do. You cannot, because you take out the criticism part. You take out the part that says that in order to truly walk this life, you have to get this part right. That's what you're saying. You're supposed to be the hospital and not the hospice. You see, my father's birthday just passed. And in a few weeks, will also be the anniversary time frame of when my father had a stroke. And when my dad had his stroke, he went into the hospital. But then he had multiple strokes while in the hospital. Then he lost his ability to speak. Then he lost consciousness. Now, once he lost consciousness, the hospital moved him over to the hospice. The hospital is a place for you to get well of your affliction. To whatever is ailing you, whatever your issue is, whatever is bothering you, whatever is causing your body to be in dis-ease, the hospital is a place where you go to remedy that situation. The church, the synagogue, the mosque is supposed to be, according to your doctrine, a place where the person comes in to get remedied from their afflictions. Now, does that mean they'll ever get to a point of perfection? No. But they're supposed to be a place where you get remedy for your affliction. The hospice is a place that you go where your afflictions have overcome you to the point that death is next. That transitioning that is next. That the hospital can't help you no more. The hospital can't do anything for you anymore. That's what the hospital is supposed to represent. I mean, the hospice is supposed to represent. But the church is supposed to represent the hospital. How can you represent the hospital when you are saying that what you do is an affliction to the body of Christ, to the will of God, but yet we're going to accept it by flying your symbol? And when my father went there, he transitioned because the complications of the stroke was more than his physical body can manage to overcome, more than what modern medicine can manage to overcome. By allowing the flying of the flag and saying, come in here with your, what we deem as an affliction, come in with what we deem as the church, as the mosque, as the synagogue, deem as an affliction, come in, we accept it. We're going to tell you everything else that God says, but we're not going to tell you about that part because we're flying your flag. We're going to tell you maybe in so many ways, whatever you feel. But if you feel that what you do is naturally who you are and it's a blessing and it's just God sent to you, then you will never catch the message that it's an affliction to you. So you will remain in the hospital as if your affliction need not worry. I'm here because even though I'm bleeding to death out my side, I have a headache, and I need you to fix my headache. Don't ignore the blood coming out my side. Fix my headache. Fix my headache. That's essentially what you're telling the people when you fly their symbols. Now, if you don't think the symbols are important, if you don't think flying the flag is important, then do me a favor, church. Fly the neo-Nazi flag. The neo-Nazi flag, the swastika, which they stole from the Buddhists, which actually meant peace and unity, the neo-Nazi flag, which represents racism, fly that flag. And say to the neo-Nazi that even though we know that you look at people no further than the color of their skin and judge them no further than that, and you will afflict them and kill them and do whatever based on the color of their skin, we're going to fly your flag because we welcome you in. But we're not going to talk about being racist. We're going to leave that off the table. We're going to talk around it. Fly their flag. Fly the rebel flag. Here in the South, I don't care what you say, I don't care who you are, here in the South, and actually what the Confederation said, that they are fighting this war over slavery, that's what that rebel flag means. That's what it means. Fly their flag and say that you're welcome here. We know you hate black people and think that they should all be enslaved, but we welcome you here. And we're not going to talk about that all men are created equal. We're not going to talk about that. No, we're going to skirt around it. Matter of fact, let's create a flag. Create a flag for the adulterer. Let's create an adulterer's flag. Maybe it's a man holding on to a woman and he got a ring on his finger and he's hiding it back here and his wife is over there. Create an adulterer's flag and let's fly that flag. Let's invite all the adulterers in, but we're not going to talk about adultery. Let's get a flag for thieves, flag for the thieves, and let's fly their flag. But you won't do that. You won't do that. You won't put a Buddha statue in. Atlanta is growing in its Buddhist community tremendously. It's growing in its Hindu community tremendously. You won't fly a flag that represents that. You won't have a Buddhist statue outside. You won't have a statue of Krishna or Kali outside. You won't do that to tell those people you're welcome to come in. But we're going to talk about everything, but we're not going to talk about idolatry. We're not going to talk about, having only one God. We're not going to talk about all those, even though they do only have one God. We're not going to talk about those. We're not going to do that. We're not going to fly your flag. We're not going to build your statues, especially for the Catholic Church that flies the flag. They fly the biggest flag. They got statues. Get a statue of Buddha in that church. You're not going to do that because you are diametrically opposed to that, but you will fly that flag because those communities are in your community. They're right around you and they're very powerful and they have finances and you will fly it. And most importantly, it's like those ladies said in the back of the car, it is being or has been in certain areas normalized. And so now you're normalizing it in your church. And it is something that I've said many times over. Religion should not conform to the world, but the world should conform to religion. But that is what really makes it religion, the fact that it conforms to the world. But what we're going to talk about is spirituality. Spirituality never conforms over to the world. The world has to conform over to spirituality. And we're going to talk about that right now, of how that works, why that works. All right? So as I said earlier, the rainbow was created as a symbol to show a covenant between man and God, a spiritual symbol. Now, in that vein, what I want you to understand is that man has come into a wisdom of understanding the chakras, and he's placed colors on those chakras. Those colors have a frequency. Those frequencies match the frequencies of the chakra. So it is not something man just made up. It is a frequency that emanates, that correlates with the color. Those colors represents those chakras. From the base chakra, let me step back a little bit. The base chakra right here. Well, it's around your anus. That base chakra is red. The next chakra is yellow. Orange. I might be getting that wrong. It's orange. The next chakra is yellow. The next chakra is green. The next chakra is blue. The next chakra is purple. The next chakra is violet. Notice how it goes from the bottom up. The bottom up. From the base up. Those who are into chakras and have an understanding, you know, and I want you guys to understand that as you go, all the chakras below the heart are your matter plane chakras, your base level chakras. They exist here on the matter plane. They are controlled by the things around you. They're blocked by things such as fear and shame and guilt. But the heart chakra is where a 90-degree turn has to be made in those areas in order for you to turn that chakra to go into communication, to go into your vision, and to go to your crown, your spiritual. That 90-degree turn has to happen here, and another one happens here in your third eye. That when you make those 90-degree turns from understanding love, understanding how to keep, well, first, get into the real understanding of your foundation, the real understanding of your sexuality, the real understanding of your power, to get into your heart, to do them by love so you get a 90-degree turn. Then you can start get into your communication properly, still dealing with the lower chakras, so that in your communication you go to your third eye, your vision, the thing that connects you to spirit. Get into there, that connects you to the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as above. You get that now better? That you get there, you make another 90-degree turn of vision and understanding so that you can go into your spiritual. Many people are only touching their spiritual. You have a moment. But to develop the Buddha head, the Christ mind, to get to that point of samadhi, you have to have another turn right there in the spiritual, where you start recognizing what things really are, and you can then release your earthly attachment. So you never reach that crown chakra till you release your earthly attachment. You never reach your spirituality till you release your earthly attachments. It is the same way as some books say, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? What does it profit you to keep and stay in your base natures of this third dimensional, this matter plane, but never connect to your spiritual? These are those 90-degree turns. And what that rainbow is showing you, when you connect to your spiritual, you now can connect to the spirit, going to the next understanding, going to the next dimension, going to heaven, going to Shangri-La, whatever you want to call it, but going to the next dimensional plane of existence and understanding. This is why the rainbow comes down opposite to us. Because we have to meet the next plane of existence. We have to meet the spiritual level on the spiritual plane before we can do, as many religions talk about, have a new body in the new understanding. You see, I wear this ankh, dealing with the Egyptian sign of everlasting life. Meaning that when they read the Book of the Dead, when they cast their spells and going into the underworld, and they knew the right spells to get past the different situations, and when their heart was measured against the feather, measure against the feather to see if it was heavier through the confessions of Mayat. When they did that, and if they made it, they crossed over with the boatman, with Osiris, into the underworld, where they got to live a new life in their new body. This is what the Egyptians taught, that when they go and live with the gods, they live in a new body. The Christian and the Islamic and the Hebrew all teach that when you leave this existence, you get a new body. So the rainbow is showing you that when you connect with that spiritual plane, then from the spirit level, you go into a new body. You go from the spiritual level of the crown, the spiritual level of the third eye, the spiritual level of your throat chakra, the spiritual level of your heart chakra, the spiritual level of your power chakra, the spiritual level of your sacral chakra, and the spiritual level of your foundational chakra. The new body in the new existence, in a higher plane of understanding, in your heaven, the new body. This is what the rainbow means. So it's meeting you where you are. So in order to get there, you got to elevate through your chakras. So that's why from here, for us, it goes from the red up, meets the next understanding. And when you understand the law of correspondence, as above, so below, that there are many different dimensional planes, that there's the plane of matter A, the plane of matter B, and the plane of matter C. But there is the spiritual level of A, of B, and of C. At the higher plane of the physical matter of plane A, it meets with the spiritual level of plane C, spiritual plane C. And it is your union there, your yoga, your union there at the matter plane A and the spiritual plane C, that you go into the spiritual plane, and then you go to the spiritual plane B and then the spiritual plane A to get in there. The rainbow is showing you that. And as far as the LGBTQ community, not all, but so much of what we see, so much of what represents you is based on the heart chakra and below. These three ladies, I don't know how typical they are. I'm not going to claim them to speak for the entire community, because that would be wrong. These three ladies, though, demonstrated not even the heart chakra, power chakra, and below, all base. They weren't drunk, but I think if they were drunk, even more truth would have came out. But but power level base. They want to power their way into overcoming other women and making them join the LGBTQ community. Take away wives from their husbands, girlfriends from their boyfriends, women who are just their friends, take them away from their mindset, overpower them into the LGBTQ community, or the queer lifestyle, as they kept referring to. They want to take them there so that they can then, as they continue to say, make out with them, make love to them, all from a base chakra levels, all from the base level, not from the plane of matter A, not from the plane of matter B, but from the plane of matter C, which the plane of matter C then connects to the plane of matter A of the elemental understanding, the elemental plane of existence. The animal plane of existence is where it now connects, because when we do it from a different version, it connects with the animal level, from the man to the animal level, from the human to the animal level. This is where they were. This is what they were talking about. And if I was the leader of the LGBTQ community, then I would invert your flag. I would invert your flag, letting your people know symbolically our flag represents the fact that we need to start from the base, from our foundation, and move into the spiritual understanding of what we are. If I was of that community, that's what I would do. Because then I will be telling the community based on the symbol that I'm showing them. And if you don't think symbols mean anything, then you don't have to read that it says McDonald's. You see the golden arches and you go to McDonald's. You know what it is. You see the little mermaid lady and you know it's Starbucks. You see any of those symbols and you know exactly what they are. You see the American flag, you know what it represents. You see the Ford, well, it says words, but you see the Cadillac symbol, you know it's a Cadillac. You see the Porsche symbol, you know it's a Porsche symbol. You see the little horse, you know it's a Ferrari. You know the symbols. So you cannot say that the symbols don't mean anything, because as soon as you see the symbols in your everyday life, you know what it means. You see the red light, it doesn't have to say stop, you know to stop. You see the shape of the yield sign, you know it's a yield sign. You know to slow down. And the other people have the right of way. You see the symbols and you automatically respond to them. But when the symbol is taught, you will respond. So if the symbol is taught that in the LGBTQ community that we focus on going up to the spiritual level of what we do, that we get into the heart of what we do, we get into the communication of what we do, the vision of what we do, we release those earthly attachments of what we do. That what we do is not about converting other people over, it's not about dominating people, it's not about making people, forcing people to agree and be what we are. But it is to stand on the top of a mountain, shout out our truth, and don't give two rat's asses about who agrees or who doesn't. You know that is my stance on everything that I believe, everything that I know. So if I was leading that community, I would invert that flag. If I was leading the churches, the synagogues, and the mosques, I would never fly their flag. But since I am someone who studies alchemy, who studies hermetics, who studies the universe and nature and everything, and I see creation in everything, and I see the way it flows, it is something I cannot help but to see and understand that we have been shown through nature that our frequencies, our vibration, our sound emanates a color. Those colors connect with our chakras, from the red to the ultraviolet and the rainbow. Whether it is a symbol of God from the story of Noah, or if you just look at it as this is just how creation was formed, period, from the beginning, the rainbow has always been there. That comes after the rain. After the rain. What does the rain do? The rain washes away. The rain cleanses. The rain nurtures and feeds and waters the earth. Without rain, we would not be able to exist on this planet. We all live near rivers, right? But without that whole system of evaporation and cloud formation, and without that whole system of the growth streams and things moving from one side to the other and moving through a pattern, without all that, we do not have rain. And without rain, this vegetation dies. Unless it's near a water source, an underground water source, it dies. We live in a world that is mostly desert. Without rain. Rain cleanses, rain feeds, rain nurtures, rain washes away. And when there's lightning in the rain, when there's lightning, it ionizes the air and really changes the vibration of the air. That's why after a thunderstorm, everything seems to be so much clearer. That's why when there's a thunderstorm, you seem to sleep a lot better, because it's ionizing that air around you. So the rainbow comes after the storm. The storm is not negative. The storm has so many great benefits. The rainbow is the symbol right after the storm that lets you know that the storm has passed and that there is beautiful moisture in the air, ionized air that has now cleansed the air. A lot of our smog and the things that we do to destroy the air with our cars and whatnot is cleansed a bit by that. I'm in Georgia. When the pollen count is high, I pray for rain. I demand rain. I say, please let it rain so it can knock this pollen down and I can breathe and I can wear contacts so that my eyes don't swell. So the rain is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the rainbow says that it is finished. The rain is done. See my beauty. See my beauty and connect with me by raising yourself in your beauty, by raising your kundalini, by raising your energy, by raising your mindset, your thoughts, by raising who you are to the level of spiritual consciousness, so that you are not controlled by the lower natures that goes into the plane of matter C, but you're controlled and you regulate yourself based on the plane of matter A, so that you can then connect to the plane of spiritual matter C, spiritual level C, spiritual understanding C. And then once you connect there, you begin to see spiritual level B and A, and you begin to understand how to truly let go of these earthly attachments, see things how they really are, not overwhelmed by emotions, but yet not overwhelmed by logic, but you see things in perfect balance so that you can regulate your life to vibrate at a higher level over to the right side of the scale. So I saw this, I heard this was downloaded to me, and I needed to share this with you. So I appreciate everybody who is there. Those who continue to share, to support the channel, I appreciate you guys tremendously. and give you gratitude. And remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And the moment you label me, you negate me. So I don't accept your labels, and neither should you accept anybody else's. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Be blessed. Raise your energies. Raise your kundalini. Meet the rainbow, not taste the rainbow.